Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. This is ETT. Today we're talking about the iPad Pro, the new iPad Pro, 12.9 inches liquid retina display, XDR, all day battery life, ProMotion, 4-speaker audio, Thunderbolt, up to 2TB storage, up to 16 gigs of RAM, center stage, 2x faster, studio quality mic, 5G, Wi-Fi 6, Face ID, LiDAR, wide and ultra wide camera, and the main ingredient, the M1 chip. An iPad with an M1 chip. I don't know, it's kind of weird, you know what I mean? One chip, as we know, it was released with the Mac Mini, it was released with the 13-inch MacBook Pro, and also the MacBook Air. And M1 has been creating a lot of waves for Apple. Multiple persons like it, even persons who are super productive and use a lot of resources when they're working loves the M1 chip. That's the reason why Apple recently launched their iMac, the new iMac with the M1 chip. Even though the new iMac is for regular users, the M1 chip will just give them the power they need to do their regular work and will allow persons who will be doing more heavy lifting to use the same computer and get amazing performance out of it. But let's jump back to the iPad. iPad, as I said, it has the M1 chip in it. This M1 chip is a really good chip. It's high performant, it's very silent. It is just an amazing chip to have in your machine. M1 chip in an iPad. Now, I don't know how I feel about that. I've been watching a lot of persons online talking about it. Normally the iPad and the iPhones get the A series chip. They released the M1 chip, which we thought was for more MacBooks and stuff like that, and now that they have put the M1 chip inside of an iPad, that kind of almost balloon the mind in terms of what is possible. Is it possible for them to put an M1 chip in a phone? Who knows, you know what I mean? But let's talk about the iPad and all the new capabilities of this iPad. This iPad now has a Thunderbolt, and what that means for this iPad is that you can have faster connectivity to this iPad. You can connect it to the Pro Display XDR. You can connect it to almost anything because of the Thunderbolt. Faster speed. It has 5G in it, so you know connectivity wirelessly. It can do that. One of the features that they show off in the keynote is center stage. What happens is that the iPad front camera has a feature in it that is called center stage. It's a wide camera, and using AI, it keeps you in the center of the frame. And for instance, more than one person coming to the frame, it actually zooms out. So all this is basically digital zoom in and out, and actually it's digital tracking. But it is using AI to do all of that work. We already know about LiDAR, we already know about Face ID and all this stuff. This iPad also have ProMotion, which is faster refresh rate, you know what I mean? So when you're using the screen, you have faster refresh rate. This iPad also have better sound, if iPad sound can get any better. So this iPad is really amazing. One thing about this iPad is that up to 2TB of storage. Now, that is a lot of storage in an iPad. As a matter of fact, I don't think the 13-inch MacBook goes up to 2TB, but this iPad goes up to 2TB. So as I said, it's kind of strange. One thing that I am hoping Apple will do with the iPad in the near future, in the coming future, is to allow programs like Final Cut to be on the iPad, stuff like that. But Apple has their way not to try and blend stuff, you know what I mean? Like, Apple is not the company who try and use one product to kill another product, if you understand what I mean. So if they allow you to put Final Cut and such program, almost any program that runs on Mac OS as opposed to iPad OS, what will happen is that a MacBook Air wouldn't make sense anymore, if you understand what I mean. As a matter of fact, maybe the 13-inch MacBook wouldn't make any sense, because now you can basically get an iPad to do what all of these other devices have been doing or can do, you know what I mean? So, however, watching the keynote from Samsung today, whereas they show a feature where you can move things from a laptop to a tablet and actually use some features that you can't use on the laptop because the laptop is not touchscreen on the tablet. I hope that Apple do something like that if they don't actually allow you to use certain program on the iPad. However, this iPad, as I said, is bonkers. This iPad is crazy. I can't even imagine when persons get this in their hand and be using it to do a lot of stuff. Some persons have been complaining that, you know, the 2018 iPad and the 2020 iPad still have some issues. Maybe it wasn't fast enough for some of the programs that they use, but this definitely will be super fast. And I don't have an iPad. I've never owned an iPad before, so I don't really have iPad experience, but based on what I've been watching and based on the reviews that I've seen, iPads seem like an amazing tool to have for a creative. So you use it to do certain things. It's not like having an iPad mean that you don't want to have a laptop. You use it in conjunction with your laptop and not in place of your laptop. So if you want to do local notes, you might use your iPad to do local notes and certain things like that. But if you're doing more heavy stuff like editing and stuff like that, then you will probably end up use your laptop. So the iPad, amazing stuff, and Apple did it again. Everybody know that in terms of tablets, Apple leading in light years. Each time Apple adds something like this, like Apple putting the M1 chip in an iPad, means that Apple is leading galaxies right now. Not even light year anymore, galaxy they're leading by. So, well, maybe not galaxy, we already know who used that, but they're leading by far. So also, guys, we cannot talk about the iPad without talking about how they introduced the iPad in the keynote or in the launch or in the event, Mission Impossible style, and then ending it off with basically Tim Cook having a blast with the M1 chip in the iPad. Not to mention the commercial for the iPad. It's Apple, well produced. It's crazy. And this iPad, as I said, it's packed with features up to 1600 nits of peak brightness. What that really means is that you have parts that can go up to 1600 nits. The brightness of the screen is really 1000 nits, but amazing stuff. An amazing feat of engineering for Apple to come up with this iPad, and we'll be hearing about it in the coming months when persons get it in their hands and start to use it, and, you know, talk about how it improved their workflow for the persons who use it in their workflow and the persons who are just gonna buy it to just take pictures and stuff like that. That's it, guys. Remember, feel free to subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. You just click that subscribe button, and also like these videos, because when you like these videos, it push it in the algorithm so more persons can see this video, so the channel can actually grow. I'll really appreciate that. This is ETT. Blessings and guidance.